going on, guys? John Alder here from Codemy.com, and in this video, we're going to add registration to our Twitter clone app for Django and Python. All right, guys, like I said, in this video, we're going to add registration to our Twitter clone app. But before we get started, if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codemy.com, where I have dozens of courses with thousands of videos that teach you to code. Use coupon code YouTube50 to get 50% off lifetime membership. It's all my courses, videos, and books for one-time fee, which is insanely cheap. Okay, moving right along with our app, we've got the ability to log in and log out. In this video, we want to add the ability to register. Up until now, we've had to register people on the back end in the Django admin section, but of course, we don't want that. We want people to be able to go to the website, sign up themselves. So that's what we're going to work on in this video. So let's head over to our code. I'm using the Sublime Text Editor in the Git Bash terminal as always. And as always, you can find a link to the code in the pinned comment section below, as well as a link to the playlist with all the other videos in this Twitter clone Django series. So check that out if you haven't so far. All right, so first things first, let's create a web page where people can go to register. So I'm going to head over to my templates directory, click new file. Let's go file save as, and let's just call this Register.html. And I'm going to open my, home page or so, and grab these tags here. And then let's just say h1 register, and head back over to the home and come down to the bottom and grab this guy. Okay, go ahead and save this. Now let's head over to urls.py file. You guys know anytime you create a web page in Django, it's a three-step process. You need the actual page. We just created that. You need the URL, and then you need a view. So let's create a URL here. I'm just going to copy one of these guys here. And let's call this register. And this is going to be register_user. And let's name this register. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and save this. Now let's head over to reviews.py file. And let's just come down here to the bottom. Let's define register_user, pass in our request as always. And then I'm just going to come up here and let's see. Let's just grab this guy right here, paste it in. Instead of login.html, we want register.html. Okay, that should be good. Now let's create a link to this on our Navbar. So let's head over to our Navbar. And let's come down here to where the user is authenticated or not. So we only want to show this link if the person is not authenticated, if they're not logged in. Because if they're logged in, they've already registered. So we don't want them to see a link to register again. So here in our else statement, we can just add a new link. So I'm just going to copy this guy right here. And let's put it right there. And let's change this to register. And then our URL we want is register. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this. Head back over to the website. First, hit your terminal. Make sure your server is running. So ours is. Now, if I hit reload, we have this register link. If I click on it, boom, it goes to that page. Now, if I log in, boom, that register link disappears because I'm already registered. So let's log back out, click on this guy, and okay. So now to create this register page, we're going to need a form that the person can log into. And we're going to allow the Django Authentication system, the thing that's built into Django, we're going to let that thing take care of all of our logging in, logging out, registering stuff. So we don't have to actually write the code for that. We can just import it from Django. So let's head over to reviews.py file. And up at the top here, let's go from Django.contrib.auth.forms. We want to import the user creation form. Now, we may not necessarily need this on this page, but it's good to import it here anyway. And now for good measure, let's go from Django import forms. Again, we may not need this, but let's go ahead and add it anyway. So now, in our register user view, we need a form, but we don't have a form yet. So let's head over to our forms.py file right here. And we've got this MEEP form for people that want to create a MEEP, but what we need is a form to register users. So let's go ahead and create that real quick. Now, I'm going to head back over to my views.py file and let's copy this guy because we do need this for sure in our forms.py file. So I'm going to pop that in there right there. And then also let's go from Django.contrib.auth.models. We want to import user. So this is the model that Django uses for all the authentication stuff. So we're going to be creating new users and allowing them to sign up. So we're going to use the UserCreationForm to create users, right? So we've already set up an admin super user. That's in our user model, our Django contrib auth models model, right? So, okay, that looks good. Now let's come down here and what we want to create is a new class and let's call this SignUpForm. And this is going to inherit our user creation form, which is this guy right here, right? So, all right, that looks good. So let's create a couple of fields. We definitely want email. So we'll set that equal to forms.an-email field. And we want to give this a label of nothing. Now this kind of looks like a capital L. It's a lowercase. Sublime always does that. Drives me crazy. And we want to give this a widget of forms.textInput. And inside of here, we want to create some attrs. And these are, think of them as attributes that we can pass to the form. Now we're going to be using Bootstrap to create our forms. And Bootstrap needs a couple of things. It needs placeholder text and it needs a class of form control. So we need to pass those things as attrs on our form right here. So first, let's go class and then a colon. And then this is going to be form-control. And like I said, that's just a Bootstrap class that adds style to the input box, right? And we also want to give this placeholder. So let's go placeholder colon. And now what do we want as our placeholder text? Let's just have it say email address. So that on the form itself, it'll say email address and people will know, hey, put in your email address there. So, all right, I'm going to copy this and let's paste in another one of these. And the next thing we want is a first name field. And instead of this being in an email field, we want this to be a car field. And then inside of here, let's give this a max_length of like 100. You know, characters in a person's first name really shouldn't be more than 100. So that looks good. And then instead of placeholder email address, let's have it say first name. So I'm going to copy this guy and now paste it in again. And instead of first name, this is going to be last name. And everything else should be the same, except our placeholder text will now say last name. Okay, that looks good. Now, we also need to come down here and underneath this thing, give it a class with meta stuff. And here we need to basically say, hey, what model are we going to be using this form on? So we know this is going to be our user model. And we also have to designate the fields. So here we want the user to have a username. We want them to have a first name. We want them to have a last name. We want them to have an email address. We'll call this email. And then we need two password fields. One is password1 and the other is password2. Why do we need two? Because on our registration form, we're going to have two password fields. We're going to say, hey, pick your password. And then they'll write it out. And underneath that, we'll say, confirm it, type it a second time so the two match. So it's just a way for Django to, make sure that the passwords are correct. So, okay, so you may notice here, we've got a first name, a last name, and an email. Up here, we've got a first name, a last name, and an email. We do not have a username or password1 or password2. So we need to actually come down here and add those down here. And this is a little bit of a quirk with Django. We can't define those things up here because those are like hardcore things, right? The authentication system must have a username and it must have a password. So Django doesn't really let you fiddle with those up here in this nice, easy way that we did these three. So to get around that, we have to do a little bit of hacking. So let's go define, well, actually, you know what? I think I'm just going to copy and paste all this stuff. So there's a lot of stuff here and we'll go through it all, but I'm just going to copy and paste it. So the things to understand here are we need to line it up inside of this class. It has to be lined up with this thing right here. So if I paste all this stuff in, and we're going to go through all this, I did that really quickly. So you'll see, here's what I pasted in, and it lines up with this, right? See this line here? So first off, make sure you've done that. Next, when you're copying and pasting things, you often have to come through here and see these dots here? That means those are spaces and we need it to be tabs. So I'm just going to tab all of this stuff over. And same thing with all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of this and then I'm going to hit Shift and Tab a couple of times. And what that does is it bops it all the way over. Now I can hit Tab again 2 times and it tabs it back over. And you can see now there's no dots in there. So these have been correctly tabbed over. So, all right, let's go through all this code real quick and see what this is. This just defines it and initiates it. So we've got define __ init. Now these are 2 underscores, not 1, so 2, keep that in mind. And then another 2, no space. We go right into, we call self with classes. You always do that. And then args and quargs. So here we have super sign up form. That's our form, right? And then again, self. And then we were passing our args and quarks. So just initialization code that's normal in Python class stuff. So here we've got three things: username, password 1, and password 2, right? Those obviously are username, password 1, and password 2. And if you look in here, we're doing the exact same thing here that we did up here with our attrs. Remember our attrs here, we added a class of form control and a placeholder text. Well, we're doing the same thing down here, right? So here is the class of form control. Here's the placeholder text. Here we're saying label equals nothing. We did that up here too, right? Label equals nothing. And then help text, this is the only thing that's really different. So when you're filling out a form and you don't fill it out correctly, like a registration form, especially for like passwords, right? If you have password rules, like your password has to have, a letter, a number, a special character, all those things. If you type in a password that doesn't have those rules, we want to flash up a little help text that says, hey, it needs this or that, right? That's what this thing basically does here, right? So yeah, your password can't be too similar to other things. It can't have the same password, blah, 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 all the things. So I'm not going to go through all this. Just head over to my GitHub account and copy this from there. The link is in the comment section below, but we'll just go over one of these really quickly. So we've got username, widget attrs. Here's the class of form control, widget attrs, class of placeholder, and then we've got username. And then here the label is nothing, and then the help text is whatever you want. So in this case, it says required, 150 characters or fewer, letters, digits, special characters only, and that's it. So same thing here with the passwords, right? This is just the help text that we're passing in and giving it some stuff. So this is how you can pass things into the username and password, even though Django doesn't really want you passing things into the username and password. But we need to, because we need to style it on the page. Out of the box, the authentication system has horrible styling. So we need to pass our Bootstrap things, these form control and placeholder things, and this is how we do it. So, okay, I don't like copying and pasting, but I think it would have taken me forever just to type all this stuff in, so we're just gonna roll with it. So, all right, I think that's pretty much all we need. So let's go ahead and save this and head back over to reviews.py file. And now we need to pass all that stuff in here. So up here at the top, from .forms, import meep form. We also want to pass in our sign up form right there. So we want to import meep form and sign up form. Okay, that looks good. Now let's come down here and play with our register user view. So here, let's say if request.method equals post. We always do this if we're submitting a form, right? So the form is going to equal our sign up form. And we want to pass in our request.post, right? So now we've got the form. Somebody has gone to the web page and filled it out and submitted it. So now we need to say, hey, is their form valid? So let's go if form.is_valid, right? And if it is, just save it, form.save. Now we need to clean our data. So let's go username equals form.cleaned_data, and then pass in our username. And then let's clean the password as well. So form.cleaned_data, and then pass in our password 1. Because remember, on our form, we named it password 1 because that's the first password you type in. The second one is just to confirm that the two are the same, so we don't really care about it. And if we want to, we can, first_name equal form.cleaned_data, pass in first_name. And I'm just going to copy and paste this a few more times. This is going to be second name and second name. And this is going to be email and email. And I just want to make sure we call that email and not email address there. Yes, we did. So, okay, that looks good. Now, login user. So normally when somebody signs up, they're signing up because they want to log in right away and do something. So let's just go ahead and log them in. So let's create a variable called user, and this is going to call authenticate, which is the Django authentication system that we imported up here at the top, right here, right? So we call .authenticate, and inside of here, we set the username equal to username. which is this thing we cleaned right here. And we send the password equal to password. Now we're only passing in username and password, so we really don't need to clean our first name, second name, and email address. So I'm just going to go ahead and comment this out. But if you needed to do that for some reason, that's how you would do it. So I'll just leave that on there. Okay, so that looks good. So that will authenticate them. Say, hey, does this username and password exist? Or is the password the right password for the username? All that good stuff. If it is, then let's log in and then pass in our request, and we pass in our user. And that will log us in if everything is gone well. So now we just want to return, redirect, and let's send them to the home page. Now we also probably want a little message. So I'm going to come up here to this message right here, copy it, and let's come down here and paste it in. And let's say, you have successfully registered. Welcome. I don't know, whatever. And then it'll redirect to the home page, right? Otherwise, so if a user is posting, it means they went to the page, filled out the form, clicked the button, right? Otherwise, they just went to the page, right? So we need to come down here and send them to the page. So here we've got this form. We also need it up here. So let's go form equals sign up form. And now we can pass this form onto the web page. So here in our context dictionary here, we can pass form:form. So now we can use this form on the actual page. So let's head back over to our Register.html file. And right here, we want to do some stuff. So I'm going to open up our login page because we've got some here, this Bootstrap column stuff. I'm going to copy this and let's head back over here and bop that in. Let's close our div. And let's see, what else can we grab from this page? Let's grab our form, grab that. So we'll paste that in, and let me add a little line break here. Instead of posting this to login, let's just take this out completely. We don't really need it. And here we want to pass in our form.as_p. So this form is from our views.py file right here, right? Which is actually our sign up form, right? Okay, so we also need a button. So let's come to our login page and grab the submit button. And we also need to close our form tag. So I'm going to grab all of this code and paste it in. There we go. Instead of saying submit, let's say register on the button. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and save this, head over to the website, see how badly we messed that up because we did that pretty quick. So if I hit reload, all right, boom, here we go. So here's username, first name, last name. That's the placeholder text, right? When we start to type, it disappears. Right? All of these are required. So if I click this button, it says, hey, please fill out this field. So let's give this a try. So let's register a user. Let's call him Tim. I'm going to call him Tim Elder, right? And he's going to be tim@tim.com. And Tim's password is something. Now I'm going to click this button and it says, uh-oh, please fill out this form. Here I'm going to type in something else. It's going to say, enter the same password as before, right? So we've got some authentication error handling going on there. So that's cool. So let me try this. All right, so everything is in order now. We click register. Boom, you have successfully registered. Welcome. And we can now log out. Let's go to my profile. Hey, Tim's profile. Let's go to the home page. This is Tim's first post or first meep, right? So let's post it. Boom, your meep has been posted. This is Tim's first meep. If we go to our profile page, this is Tim's first meep. Tim is not followed by anybody but himself. So if we go to our profile list and let's pick April and then follow April. So now if we go back to my profile, Tim's profile, Tim follows April. There we go. We could go to April's thing. We can unfollow her if we want. Very cool. And just like that, we've got registration. Now we can log out. That seems to work. Our registration page still shows up. So let's go Tim. Let's try and log in with Tim. That worked. And that's all there is to it. So I know I did a little bit of copying and pasting, but like I said, you can just grab that code from my GitHub page. It's github.com/flatplanet. The link is in the pinned comment section below. No, I don't think the world is flat, even though my username is flatplanet. I just find it hilarious that some people do. So that's what my username is on GitHub. But grab that code. You don't have to do that, but if you don't, then it won't be nice and styled in the Bootstrap fashion, right? These things won't glow when you click on them. When we do this little box won't pop up. That's very nice looking. Bootstrap does that for us by us passing form control into the class in the forms.py file. So that's why we do that. So, you don't have to do that. Like I said, it could look ugly, but we want it to look nice, and now it does. So that's all for this video. If you liked it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, and check out Codemy.com where you can use coupon code YouTube50 to get 50% off lifetime membership. So that's access to all my courses, over 50 courses, thousands of videos, and the PDFs of all my best-selling coding books. Join over 150,000 students learning to code just like you. My name is John Elder from Codemy.com, and I'll see you in the next video.